Hey everybody, welcome to your latest Carson's Take 5 with Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, the Dow hit 40,000 recently. We're calling this one Dow 40,000. Now what? Well, Sonu, just high level, what does it mean for your average investor? 40,000.
40,000 is a big number. It also means the Dow has doubled from Dow 20,000 in just over 7 years, which means we've gotten a return of about 10% annualized. And that's excluding dividends, by the way. If you include dividends, the Dow is up about 130% versus 100% if you just go from 20,000 to 40,000. But market returns are good.
Well, now that is good. And you think about those last 7 years, right? January 25th, I believe, in 2017, the Dow closed above 20,000, just above 40,000 last week. We had a near bear market, almost down 20%, 2018. Obviously, the 100-year pandemic, bear market of 2020, another bear market in 2022, contentious elections, geopolitical concerns. All those
Fed raising rates.
The Fed aggressive raising rates.
Highest inflation in 40 years.
Inflation. I think you had twins. I mean, there were so many different things, and yet at the end of it all, stocks doubled. I think that's really important for investors to remember. Now, here's the question: will it keep going, and how soon will we go to 80,000? Let's say we double again, Sonu.
No, look, the Dow went from 20,000 to 40,000 on the back of earnings growth.
Mm-hmm.
So to go from 40 to 80, the question is, are earnings going to continue remaining strong? And we think so, as if you've heard us on these things over the last, let's say, is it a year? More than a year? But yeah, look, the economy is growing strong, and that means profit growth should be strong as well. Historically, if you look at, let's say, the S&P 500 from 1928 through 2019, rolling 5 years, if the market doubled, if the S&P 500 doubles in 5 years, it has to have a 14% annualized return. Okay. How often have we done that in history? About 40% of the time we've done that. So odds are good. About 57% of the time, returns have been more than 10% per year, above average. So it's looking good.
And with a 10% average return, it takes about 7 years approximately to double. So to quote Jim Carrey, Dumb and Dumber, you're telling me there's a chance. Let's talk about new highs for a second. So I went back some to the 1900. The Dow has made more than 1,400 new all-time highs. And the big question becomes, should you panic at all-time highs? Should you buy at all-time highs? Should you sell at all-time highs? I'll put it this way. Don't panic. So the returns 1 year after new all-time highs, look at those 1,400 new all-time highs, higher about 70% of the time a year later, and up close to 8% on average a year later. Bottom line, that is better than just your at-any-time return. So, listen, we're not advocating just throw it all in now at all-time highs. There are probably some better times to add. But I am saying don't panic because we're hitting all-time highs. One more on this. If you look at just when we hit 10,000, 20,000, and 30,000. So the big milestone numbers, 1 month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, and a year later, every time stocks were higher. So I think that's really important to remember. Any final comments on Dow 40,000, Sonu?
I think, look, momentum, ultimately it gets to something we've talked about in the past. Momentum begets momentum. Mm-hmm. And, all else equal, you want momentum in the markets. Don't be worried just because the Dow's hit a new all-time high, new record high, 40,000, like you said. It's a big number, but it's come on the back of earnings growth as opposed to going back to the 90s, irrational exuberance.
Well said. It's almost justifying these gains, and we continue to think there's probably some more gains coming and better times coming the rest of 2022.
People are going to think you cut your head off, by the way, I think.
Oh, can I see? It's so bright. I can't see him holding this up. There I am. Sorry if I cut my head off. It's in there somewhere.
Ryan does have a forehead.
I do. We'll hold that out a little further. Sorry about that. But with all of that, this was, again, the latest Carson's Take 5. Dow 40,000. Now what? We'll see everybody next week. Take care. Thank you.